Hi, everyone. My name is Benjamin Niaulin. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and I work here at ShareGate managing the product. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about essentially end-user communication strategy very quickly and how can that maximize your adoption of M365. There's a lot of things in the platform. And we know, especially now, that with the hybrid work, right, we're all adopting some form or some change that has happened where people are working remotely, people are working at the office. We're essentially moving to a more digital experience, and communication is more important than it ever was. What we need to do is to be able to communicate in this hybrid workplace, especially about the platform, the changes happening, and what we need to put in place. Communication to the right stakeholder is extremely important. And first, it will always change and needs to adapt, whether you're trying to reach out to managers, to people working in the field directly. So you always need to think about how you're going to adapt your messaging, your communication using the M365 tools. And that's really what I want to hone in today. And it really is, how can you leverage the Microsoft 365 platform and the existing products within it to enhance that communication? So let's take self-service as an example. Now, of course, I always promote using self-service in Microsoft 365, but it's easy for me to say it, and it's another thing to put in place. You want people to be able to do their work, but you still want to make sure that the things are used the right way, the right rules and policies are in place as well. So if we're in a model where we want to go towards self-service, communication is extremely important, and you need to equip teams and people with the information, the knowledge, the training, essentially the right guardrails for them to adopt the platform in the way that you want. I want to say the right way, but it's your way and the way that works for your business. Not to mention keeping it secure while you're doing all of this. Now, let's talk about the first communication change that you can implement, right? So one of the more obvious ones, at least for me, is the communication site. Now, the communication site is a SharePoint site. There are two types of SharePoint sites that exist. There's the team sites meant for collaboration and communication sites. Communication sites are visually, I'm losing the word there, but they're great visually, right? So you want to be able to leverage those in terms of communicating the information. They're great for FAQs. They're great for knowledge base and knowledge centers, processes. They're used for intranets many times, but it can be very well used when you're trying to communicate information changes. You want to try and adopt self-service, and people need to go back into what are the right way of using certain things. The knowledge base stored in SharePoint, you can leverage the hub sites to make sure they're well structured, well positioned, so that people can go to the right information quickly, right? Now, of course, with communication sites, you want to make sure that's compelling visually is the word that I was looking for. They're visually compelling to store the information that you want, not just lists and libraries, but really creating beautiful pages that are branded with the right information, creating and storing page layouts so you can automate your pages as much as possible as well. Then, of course, you have Teams for virtual collaboration. Now, of course, you know Teams meeting, but you can also leverage live events as well as team meetings and webinars. So you can find yourself communicating via lunch and learns or via town halls, all of the information that people need or the right stakeholders need to get their work done. And then finally, you'll also have the ability to leverage chat inside of Teams. Now, oftentimes I see organizations just using the video and audio or the previously Skype calls, if you will, of Microsoft Teams. But Teams is so much more. And you can leverage the Teams conversations that are within that group or wherever you want to communicate, to bring information, to bring communication to it. What do I mean by that? You can leverage things like Power Apps or Power Automate so that your end end users in the company employees can actually quickly leverage Ask an Expert, ask a question, and that information can be directed to a group of power users inside of Teams that can then respond to them directly, quickly, and efficiently. And of course, there's Viva Engage, previously Yammer, so you can create communities. They're also very visually engaging. They're reminiscent of a forum that got a touch of design, where you can quickly jump onto, moderating the community, of course, but creating great community posts, communications, and engage with your employees. It also integrates the live events and Teams meetings so that you can quickly jump into a more visual integration with your teams and your employees. So really a great way to build those communities, build those forums, and have those conversations with your employees. So essentially, get that word out and engage. See what I did there? Viva Engage. And lastly, and of course, you have Outlook. You may think that you shouldn't be using Outlook anymore because we got all of these other tools such as Teams, communication sites, Viva Engage, but it's still a very powerful tool. When you have that message that you want to get out to everyone in the company and make sure that it's seen, you can format it and send it via Outlook. It's always a great tool to be able to reach out to employees and send them those access to the communities, to those communication sites, or to those teams that you may have created where the information is stored. My personal bet is always try to integrate with their flow of work. People need to get their work done. If you want to provide the right guardrails using the tools that I mentioned, try and see how you can integrate those point of interest or touch points directly where they're working, using provisioning templates or any really sort of integration that can be more automated. Check that out. Of course, that's a few of the many tips that exist for communicating in a hybrid workplace with your end users. I recommend you check out our full end user communication framework. We've put a lot of time and effort in it, and there's a lot more content and value for you to find.